Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Ray's Reviews. Terra Luna has been one of the most talked about crypto projects in the past few months, and in today's video, we're going to do a deep dive into one of the most exciting projects on the TerraLuna ecosystem, which is the Chai network. And I'll compare that model to the Crypto.com debit card model in terms of gamifying customer adoption of crypto and user acquisition. So first and foremost, let's do a quick review of the Terra network. So Terra is a Tendermint-based proof-of-stake public blockchain that is built using the Cosmos SDK, just like Crypto.com. And if you're brand new to Cosmos and Cosmos SDK, make sure that you check out this video that I made about Cosmos SDK, as top projects like Binance and Binance Smart Chain are also built using the Cosmos SDK and the IBC protocol. And I'm a big believer in a multi-chain world and that there will not be a sovereign blockchain that dominates everything. So what do I think about this project? Stay tuned and let's go. Just a quick refresher on Terra, if you're brand new to them, is that they basically deploy an elastic supply monetary model based off the use of algorithmic stablecoins. And one of the most popular stablecoins is obviously TerraUSD or UST, which is one of Terra's primary fiat peg stablecoins to the US dollar. And TerraUSD is now backed partially by a Bitcoin reserve, which helps resolve one of the biggest criticisms of TerraUSD in the past. Now, Terra Luna is part of an algorithmic balancing system that helps stablecoins running on the Terra blockchain maintain parity with fiat currencies. Now, in the case of UST, the Terra protocol enables minting $1 of UST by burning $1 worth of Luna anytime via the on-chain liquidity swap mechanism, and vice versa, you can also burn $1 of UST in return for $1 worth of Luna. And this basically represents an arbitrage opportunity, because if the demand for UST increases, this could pull the price peg of UST above $1, which would trigger people doing arbitrage to mint $1 of UST by burning $1 worth of Luna and then selling that $1 of UST on the open market for a riskless profit. And the other side is true as well. If UST demand decreases, the price peg could fall below $1, which would trigger people doing arbitrage to burn $1 of UST by minting $1 worth of Luna and then buying UST on the open market for a discount. Now, if you're unfamiliar with arbitrage, I'll try to explain using a quick example, because I used to do arbitrage all the time in e-commerce, and that was whenever I saw a lower priced item on one marketplace that I could sell for higher in another marketplace, then I would basically buy it on the lower marketplace and then try to flip it on the higher price marketplace. And that's what I used to do in college all the time. I would basically go to these online message boards and buy video games that people didn't want. I would basically purchase them at a lower cost, and then I would sell them on like eBay for higher profits. And I would just keep doing this over and over. And often I would already have a seller for the item before I even committed to the item I was purchasing. And essentially this was riskless profit for me. So arbitrage as a model works. And another example of arbitrage would be like in sports betting with different point ratios. So once again, algorithmic incentives helps to drive the stability of the price of TerraUSD, and that is what is driving the mass adoption of Terra stablecoins. So now that we understand that, note that these Terra stablecoins, they serve as the settlement layer for a broad spectrum of use cases in the Terra ecosystem. For example, some of them are like Mirror Protocol, which are like the synthetic stocks. And obviously I talked about Anchor Protocol before in one of my videos, which is a savings and lending protocol on your stablecoins. But today, I want to focus on the Chai payment network, which is one of South Korea's most popular payments app. Now, if you're going to Google search Chai, make sure it is Chai, the payment network on Terra, and not the Chia network. That is completely different. Although I'm also a Chia miner, so if you want to talk about Chia, I can talk about Chia all day. I have all these hard drives now. Chai payment network in the US is rarely used, but it does present a lot of real-world utility in South Korea and Southeast Asia. And one of the things that I believe that the leadership of both Terra Luna and Crypto.com are doing really well is that they understand that the majority of new people that are coming into crypto are not necessarily technical people. Or these people, they may not even want to know that they're using crypto rails in some cases. I think most mainstream people, they don't really want seed phrases or complicated staking mechanisms on web browsers. I think what they want is a very simple to use app on their mobile phone and things to be completely seamless. And some people might disagree. A lot of people in crypto are highly technical people, which I do respect, but some of these people, I also fall asleep when they talk. Now, a lot of the times we don't talk about the mainstream crypto user experience and whether it is an enjoyable experience, because that is what is ultimately going to drive user adoption. After all, crypto should be an enjoyable experience, just like your first year of college, which is why I'm a big believer in Crypto.com and Terra Luna's visions. Like, if you lose your seed phrase, you lose everything. That's very scary for the average mainstream user getting into crypto. Like, most mainstream people don't want the responsibility of seed phrases. They want the forgot your password function. Like, what if I were to tell you, let's say you were going to college for the first time, and I said, hey, look, if you lose the key to your dorm room, you will not be able to get inside your dorm room ever again, your entire first year of college. Now, I would imagine that that's super scary to most people. All right, I didn't mean to scare you. Like the movie, The Rental on Netflix. Now that was scary. Make sure you guys watch it. So, although Terra Luna and Crypto.com have decentralized applications on their ecosystem, they also have really easy to use, simple, user-friendly interfaces as well that really help users adopt crypto. So let's talk about Chai Network first of all. Now this network is relatively unknown to US users, but it is a huge payment app in South Korea. And essentially how it works is like this. Think about if you are a small business merchant and you want to accept credit cards. Now, typically the only option in the past would be like Visa or MasterCard, and they would charge you about 3% of the total transaction fee. It could be a little bit higher or lower, but I'll just use 3%, which is the average in the majority of cases. But did you know that there's actually a very long waiting period between when the customer pays you using Visa and when the payment actually settles and then you have liquid cash? And that is the way things have typically been with existing infrastructure like Visa. But there are two major limitations to this approach, and the first one is payment processing fees, and the second one is time to settlement. Now, if you are like a large multinational corporation, then that 3% credit card fee that Visa charges you might not hurt, or even the slightly longer time for your payments to clear. But what about small business vendors in many parts of the world, such as Asia? These fees and time to settle matters a lot, as margins are not super high to begin with. And without liquid cash, you can't continue to purchase inventory to run your business. So now along comes a payment app company called Chai that utilizes Terra blockchain technology and the use of algorithmically backed stablecoins. So let's talk about Chai from the consumer's perspective. Okay, so Chai is a consumer payment app that works on the front end just like any other payment app. Think like Venmo, for example. But on the back end, it utilizes stablecoins that are minted on the Terra blockchain, which is then used to pay vendors in Terra Korean won, which is also an algorithmically backed stablecoin, just like UST. And for the vendor, if the customer pays using Chai, one of the benefits is that, number one, there are much lower transaction fees to the vendor, because for these small business vendors, they could save as much as 1 to 1.5% on the total transaction fee by utilizing the power of Terra blockchain technology. Whereas existing settlement networks could cost them anywhere between 2.7 to 3.3% if they're like a merchant accepting Visa. But if your customer pays you using Chai, your merchant processing fee might be between 0.5 to 1.5%, which in my eyes is a very clear value proposition. But the more important problem it solves is time to settlement, because Visa could take almost a week for the payment to settle in Asia. But if the vendor were to use Chai, then the transaction could settle in a really quick amount of time, like 10 seconds. So here is how it works. If I was in South Korea, I could basically connect my bank account with Chai and create a Chai e-wallet. Now that would be the first step in the entire process. And then the second thing I would do is I could make a purchase. Let's say I would buy a bottle of Coke at a convenience store using Chai. The Chai payment app would then basically use my Korean won and purchase Terra Korean won on my behalf. And then my Terra Korean won would then be sent to the merchant minus the transaction fees. Then everything is settled up. I get my purchase. The vendor gets his or her Terra Korean won, which he or she can then use to off-ramp to regular Korean won almost immediately. The vendor saves a ton on transaction fees and transaction time, and then they can convert their Terra Korean won back to Korean won and solve a critical part of their business, which is a timing of cash flow issue. So the value proposition for Chai to the small business vendor or merchant that is accepting payments is very apparent. But what about the customer? What about the consumer like me and you? Is there a value proposition for us? Well, because the small business vendor is able to save so much on fees if the user pays with Chai versus like Venmo or PayPal or regular Visa credit card, they can offer some really awesome discounts or even free products, essentially giving back a portion of their savings to the end user. And that is the awesome power of blockchain technology, because both the merchant and consumer wins.
You win!
And the most cool thing is that the user never has to know that cryptocurrency was ever involved in the transaction at all if they don't want to. Like, to them, it's just like downloading a payment app like Venmo, making their purchase, and then the back end takes care of everything. But on top of that, you get some really cool, awesome discounts and promotions from the vendor because they're saving money, so you're saving money as well. And this is basically how Chai leverages gamified rewards to acquire their users. And the users have no idea that cryptocurrency or the Luna ecosystem was ever involved in the entire process. Now let's contrast that to Crypto.com's approach, which is more of a partnership with Visa, and Visa is obviously accepted globally worldwide. But with Crypto.com, it's definitely not an invisible approach to crypto. After all, they spent millions to acquire the domain name Crypto.com, and they market the Crypto.com debit card like crazy. So as a user, you definitely know that you are using a cryptocurrency product as opposed to an invisible crypto product like the Chai payment network on the Terra ecosystem. Now, the utility token of Crypto.com is CRO or CRO, and by staking more and more CRO, you get access to higher level Crypto.com debit cards with better rewards like free Netflix and free Amazon Prime and better CRO cashback reward rates, which obviously once you get, you can then convert that CRO to stable coins or Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. You can upgrade your Crypto.com debit card or even off-ramp to fiat. Now, for the vendor, I don't really think there's much of a difference between them accepting a Crypto.com Visa debit card versus any other Visa card, as the payment rails still go through Visa. So I think for the vendor, the payment processing fees and time are the same regardless. But for the user, obviously there is a definite benefit to them using the Crypto.com debit card, as they are going to get that CRO cashback. And at the higher levels like the Icy White crypto card, which I have, it offers 5% universal CRO cashback wherever I shop. So I put all my spending on it because I'm incentivized to do so I don't really use any other payment apps anymore. So which approach do I like better, and which is better for mainstream crypto global adoption? Honestly, there are pros and cons to both approaches. Now, one benefit of Crypto.com by partnering with Visa is that they're able to get these crypto debit cards out to as much people globally as soon as possible. And that is because people trust the Visa brand and they use it every day. And Visa is not going to go away anytime soon, even in this crypto world. They have their own blockchain strategy. And because the Crypto.com debit cards are prepaid Visa cards, it's really easy to get them in the hands of global users. You don't need a credit check or anything, and users can get started absolutely for free, like using the Midnight Blue card, and this really helps in terms of global crypto adoption. Now, Visa is obviously the dominant payment network, and they're not going to just sit and have competitors take over their payment processing business. But one downside to Crypto.com, I would argue, is that merchants aren't really incentivized to accept the Crypto.com Visa debit card versus any other Visa card. And a lot of the times when Crypto.com has these special promotions like double cashback or 10% cashback if you shop at a particular vendor, those are actually in-house promotions that are driven by Crypto.com and not necessarily merchant-driven promotions. And all the marketing for Crypto.com is primarily driven by Crypto.com and the fans of the product. Whereas with Chai, because merchants are incentivized to drive promotions to Chai payment app directly themselves, there is a clear value proposition for them, and they actually share the workload in terms of marketing Chai to potential consumers, so everyone sort of benefits. Like, if more people adopt Chai, the ecosystem grows bigger and bigger and everyone wins. And Chai did raise another $45 million in a Series B funding that they're developing Chai Port, which would basically allow them over 30 payment options such as credit cards, digital wallets, bank transfers, and cross-border payments to their customers. But one criticism that I have of Chai is, can you really scale beyond Korea and Southeast Asia? Like, are you really going to be able to penetrate the US, for example, where there are already dominant players in the payment merchant processing space like Square and PayPal and Stripe? The merchant payment processing market is an extremely competitive market after all, which is why the approach that Crypto.com took in terms of focusing on the end customer and partnering with Visa with the Crypto.com debit Visa card may not be a bad philosophy either. But I will agree that both Crypto.com and Chai Network on Terra are both super fast growing from an end customer perspective, and I think that the consumer ultimately is the one to benefit. After all, there is real tangible value to both products in the marketplace, and it is important to understand the unique value proposition that each project brings. There are just different approaches and different philosophies. One is more of an invisible approach versus the other, which is a highly visible approach, but both projects are front runners in driving the mass adoption of cryptocurrencies. So, which approach do you guys like better? I'll let you guys decide, but I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something, and I have to get going. I have to figure out what to do with all these hard drives for my Chia mining rig before my wife kills me. So, if I'm not around in the next video, you know what happened. As with anything and everything, please do your own due diligence and your own research. Don't trust anyone, including myself, unless you've done proper due diligence for yourself. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.